Hi guys, welcome to Lenette Looks, or welcome back if you've been here before. I'm glad to have you. Now let's get started with this. I just finished A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This book is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast and Tamlin. The reason why I was drawn to this book, number one, it was another book that I found on Goodreads that was really popular. Oh my god, it has so many reviews and high ratings. So I said, you know what, I love Beauty and the Beast. I love the live action film, the Disney film, and the animation, and it's one of my all-time favorite Disney movies, and I just had to read this book. I was so excited to get started, and I kind of had high expectations of this, and while I was reading it, those expectations very fast just got shot down because it really didn't live up to anywhere near Beauty and the Beast at all in my eyes. I might again have an uncommon opinion, but I know there are also many that have a similar opinion that did not really like this storyline, and I'll tell you why. But first and foremost, let me just tell you what the book is about. Besides being a retelling of Beauty and the Beast and Tamlin, it's like a combination of inspiration from those stories. We are following Feyre, who is 19 years old, and she is a huntress. She's living with her two sisters and her dad. And it is described that she is the one that goes out hunting for food. Whatever they need, she gets. And she is not treated very well by her sisters or her dad, but she did promise her mom that she would take care of the family and make sure that they were okay before she passed away. In this world, remember, it's a high fantasy adult novel. So in this world, the humans, they live next to the fairy land. So they live right on the border, and they do not mix. They do not get along. Over 500 years ago, the humans fought a war with the fairies to have their freedom because they were held imprisoned by the fairies. So there was a war, and now the world or the lands are divided between the humans and the magical, the fae, the fairy, the magical creatures there. So they do not cross paths. One day, Feyre, 19 years old, she goes out hunting for food. There's a wolf there, and she kills this wolf. That wolf was actually a fairy disguised as a wolf because they can some of them can shapeshift. She's able to sell his fur in exchange for the things that she needs to take care of her family. So because she kills that wolf that she didn't know was a magical creature, one day one of the high lords of the courts goes to get retribution for her killing one of them. That wolf that she actually killed was a very good friend of his that he lost. He's like, either you die or I take you as my prisoner for the rest of your life. So of course, Feyre is like, I don't want to die, so I'll just be going with you and held prisoner for the rest of my life. He goes ahead and he takes her, and that's it. Like, she doesn't see her dad or her sisters or anything like that, and she's now held captive. Now she's held captive, but Tamlin, the high fairy, kind of like a king, you would say, he's the one who took her, so he takes her back to live with him in his beautiful castle or mansion. And she's actually treated very well. Why are they treating her so well? She's like catered to by the other fairies that live there, and actually the High Lord, his name is Tamlin, he treats her with the utmost of respect. It doesn't even seem like he's super angry at her or anything after that. And so right then and there, I'm like, I know this is fantasy, but it totally does not make sense. Why isn't he angry? Why is she being treated like a princess, and meanwhile she's supposed to be held prisoner for her actions? It is explained in detail that they were living in poverty. Like, she is skin and bones. very skinny, very frail, because they hardly had food to eat, especially in the winter. It's really hard for them to gather food and be well fed. So they're hardly eating, they're living in poverty. And in the fairy world, she's getting treated so well, amazingly. She's eating like queen, you know, and for the first time, and she can't believe it. She's like, wow, I'm, you know, eating all this great food and everything. And in her mind, she just feels like she needs to go home because she has to take care of her family, even though Tamlin says her family is taken care of. Her family is taken care of financially and well taken care of by him. Now, why would you take care of the family of the person who killed your best friend? I'm like, okay, you lost me. Why is she being treated so nice? And it is going to make sense towards the end. You're like, what's going on? Why isn't he upset? I didn't even see like much grieving. Again, it's going to make sense later on in the story. But because this is like the meat and bones of the story, like her being held prisoner and then just getting treated really nice, and you're wondering what is going on. It was kind of just frustrating to try to figure out like why it just doesn't make sense. And also there's a curse on the fairyland by someone, and the curse is that they are not able to take off this mask that they're wearing, so she cannot see his face. So ergo, you know, he's the beast, but he's also a shapeshifter, so he can change into a werewolf or a wolf, you know. So you see his claws coming out, and well, you envision his claws coming out, and the way it's described and everything, that he is also this wolf that he can transform into. And she does say that the mask, you could still see his, it's almost like it just covers his eyes. It's like masquerade mask, you know. It's like stuck to everyone's face, these masks, for like whatever. It's a mystery why they have this curse on them. You're wondering why he's treating her so nice, and you're also wondering why the curse was put upon them. Those are the two things that we're facing in this story. And the third thing is that she is there, and she literally does everything to try to like escape, or when they tell her not to do something, because the fairies hate humans. So if they were to see her on the outskirts, outside of his land where he lives, she would probably get killed. What does Feyre do? Feyre goes out and she does it anyway. She's like, well, let me go out anyway, you know. They tell her to be careful, to be safe, not to do things, and she goes ahead and does them anyway, regardless of the fact that she is living in a beautiful castle, and she is being treated so well, and she has no reason not to trust them, really, because throughout her whole stay, she's just been treated so nice, and they're almost like caring for her. And I'm like, okay, this just does not make sense. Later on, you find out that there's gonna be spoilers here. This is I'm just gonna go into some of the details of this story. So later on, you do find out that there is an ex-high lord fairy who used to run things in their fairyland. She is upset at Tamlin. She wanted to curse everybody and punish everybody just because Tamlin did not want to be with her. That's it. Super simple. It's like, really, she like punished everybody and set this wicked spell on every single person, that they have to wear this mask on their face for the rest of their lives. And to break the curse, just like kind of like Beauty and the Beast, he has to have a human fall in love with him. And remember, humans hate fairies because of the long ago imprisonment and war. So imagine trying to get somebody to fall in love with him. in love with him from the human world. So in that sense, I did understand, okay, that's why he was treating her so nice. But his friend still got killed. The way that the author described things is so bland, so vanilla, so uninteresting, to say the least. And it's just like it goes on and on and on with her being in this imprisonment. It's more like a luxury hotel, really, because she is living the best life there. She's like catered to and living great there. And then throughout the story, you see that Tamlin and her are like very quickly exchanging, kind of like they're attracted to one another, but there's no reason why are you attracted to this person. It's described that she can already see what he looks like because the mask doesn't cover his whole face. So he's described as blonde, beautiful golden skin, and his jawline, his features are just amazing. Like, he's super handsome, and that takes away a lot of what we know to be the heart and soul of Beauty and the Beast. There's a moral to the story. You know, don't judge a book by its cover. People can show you beautiful character beneath what they look like. And it doesn't matter what somebody looks like. You have to, you know, get rid of that perception of what you think somebody or who you think somebody might be just because of the way they look. And in this story, that gets taken away entirely. Really? Please don't say that this is a retelling or inspiration from Beauty and the Beast. It captured very, very little. And the whole heart and soul of Beauty and the Beast is stripped. Like, that's what made the movie so captivating. And it was reasonable why the Beast was upset, why the Beast was so distraught at somebody coming around, and everything like kind of connected, and you can connect the dots, and it was very interesting. And you can see the attraction, you can see the falling in love on a gradual a basis with them, between the two. And you can see when you know the line is drawn where he doesn't want anything to do with her initially, and it makes sense why. And it makes sense for them to start catching feelings for each other in a very beautiful romantic way. And in this story, forget about the romance, forget about the connection. Where is the connection? Why are these two people even engaging and wanting to be attracted to one another? There's no background, there's no meat to this. Like, it's just, oh, I see you, you see me, you're this fairy high lord, and you have a good jawline, you're tan, you have the golden blonde hair, and you look good, even though you took me away from my family, I'm highly attracted to you. And then he's looking at her like, oh, he's kind of attracted to her too, but where, from what? Like, there is no leading to or reason why these two are attracted to one another, other than the fact that, okay, they're just there. It just didn't make sense. And also, what didn't make sense was, why is this even a romance? It didn't even feel like he's romancing her at all. At all. Let me tell you one thing. There is a part which was really ridiculous, because besides the fact that her name was not very unique, the fairy, and her name is Feyre. I don't know why she did that. But in any case, one day he tells her, please do not come out, don't go out of your room. We're having this, the fairies, the fae are having their yearly ceremony. It's like this magical ceremony that continues the magic in their land and everything. In order to continue the magic as a high lord, he has to pretty much sleep with one of the fairies there. It's being described as she's getting like jealous and stuff like that. This is the guy who took you from your family, holding you captive. Yes, he is treating you with all the luxuries that you didn't have before. Yes, I can understand that. I don't know. She doesn't describe anything that makes you feel like, wow, I'm really engaged in this. I want them to be together. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. Zilch. It's like, I don't care if they're together or not. And at this point, it's so boring that I'm trying my best to continue along this storyline, and it was really tough. It was really tough to keep turning the page, to keep going on in Farrah's mind. And Farrah is not a likable character. Farrah was so... Okay, let me continue with the ceremony. So the ceremony, basically he has to sleep with a fairy woman, and they tell her, he tells her, don't come out. Do not go out in the fairyland. Don't go to the ceremony, and do not come out of your room because it's gonna be bad. And the reason why he says it is because in that night, whoever he's like super attracted to will like come out, and then that night they're gonna have relations, and he is really super attracted to her. So he's gonna be under this magical spell. So the person he's super attracted to, they will engage. Why did the author write this in, or think that this was like super interesting to write in? I don't know. But of course, Farrah, being the woman who she is, she never listens to them, and she always goes out and gets in trouble and does things against what they say. So she's in her room, and of course, she goes out of her room. When he described not to go out, he tells her, it's not going to be pleasant. I won't be able to hold myself back. So you need to stay in your room or else. And it's like, okay, are you threatening that you're actually going to assault me sexually? Like, he's like, I'm telling you, it's going to be, I won't be able to hold myself back. So if she's saying, no, you're still... I just didn't get it. I did not get this, and it turned me off so much. It's like they're supposed to be romantically involved. This is a romance story, and you put that in, like assault, like basically threatening her, like he's gonna like push himself on her. And I was like, okay, that's so does not make sense. And she continues to like him. It's like, this is an abusive kind of like thinking. It's one of those relationships like, oh yeah, talk to me in that way or threaten me and I like you more. This is not Beauty and the Beast at all. So Farrah comes out of her room, and what happens? He pins it to the wall. He's there, he pins it to the wall, and he's like, didn't I tell you to stay in your room? And his claws are, he's like a Wolverine, like his claws start coming out the way it's described and everything. She's like, let me go. And before he lets her go, he takes his teeth into her this is funny, but it's not a funny situation, but because it's fantasy and he's like turned into he's shape-shifting into the wolf, she's describing his claws coming out and everything like that. And he's like all beastie and pulling her against the wall. And then all of a sudden he takes his teeth and he just rams into her neck and bites her. And then he finally releases her and she runs into her room. And the next day she has like all bruised and everything. And it's like, oh my God, really? This is where we're going with this story? Why? Why did we need to go there? I don't want to get into every single detail of the story, but there was no connection at all between them. I didn't feel a thing. I didn't care what happened to Farrah. I didn't care what happened to the characters. I didn't care about her family because they said her dad and her sisters treated her like crap. There's nothing leading up to it making sense for them to fall in love. Anyway, one day, Tamlin says Farrah has to go home because the high fairy who cursed all of them is going to come back and make havoc, or something is brewing. Something is brewing and it's gonna be bad, and Farrah needs to go back home. So he's like, Farrah, you need to leave. I'm sending you back home. She is a prisoner, but he wants to save her because he's loves her or likes her a lot, whatever the case may be, even though it doesn't make sense for it. It just happened. It was so long, so drawn out for nothing. There was no real details that led them to falling in love at all. It was, to me, it was just lust, and that's it. And that is not anything near or close to a Beauty and the Beast story. But I understand it's probably loosely based. The meat and bones to this story was so, it just wasn't my cup of tea. She goes home and she wants to now go back there and risk her life to save him. Why does she want to save him? There is no reason why she should go back and save him. There's no reason why they even like each other. It's all like, it felt like I was reading some first time high school boy and girl that just met, and they're just attracted to each other, and it's very, it just was not the romance that I thought it would have been. It wasn't very nice. Feyre wants to go back and make sure that Tamlin and everybody there are okay, and it doesn't make sense because through the whole thing she's supposed to be this huntress, but to me she wasn't seeming like she was a very strong woman. When she was there, she would complain a lot. She didn't listen. It was like hearing a childish adult just whine, and she was not a very likable character. And I don't want to bash this book. So many people loved it, but this is my opinion. I did change my mind on speaking about books that it didn't jive with me, or you know, books that I didn't really like. I did change that because I felt like, you know what, I don't want to be one-sided. I realize now that as I'm getting deeper into reading more books, that there are going to be books that I am not going to like. And you know what? I want to share that with you because I feel like it can bring about more conversation, and it also can help me to understand why people really like this story, and maybe, you know, some of you who didn't, who share my opinion. So I think that's really important, and I think it's a good subject to also bring up on things that I didn't like. Life is not one-sided. There's good, there's bad. I don't want to just talk about all the goods. I do want to recommend all the goods, but you know what, I also want to recommend the ones that I didn't like. I might not have liked this story, but maybe you would. So I'm bringing it to light, especially being that it's supposed to be a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. Again, Beauty and the Beast is one of my top, it's my all-time favorite Disney movies, I must say. You can't compare. You cannot compare at all. So anyway, Feyre is not just, to me, she is not a strong, headstrong huntress who is ready to fight. To me, she was just this whining woman who did not appreciate any of the things that she had going into their life there, that she was able to eat finally. She gained weight. She had a better life there, and her family were taken care of. She still was like very critical and didn't trust them. I mean, I couldn't understand not trusting them, being that she's a human and the fairies don't like humans. But in their case, they treated her really nice, and I just didn't see any reason how she would be able to go save them from what was described in the story. Also, another thing that I really kind of got grossed out at or annoyed with is the repetition of different phrases that she used. Like, there was one phrase that I was just so disgusted, and it was actually kind of embarrassing. Whenever Feyre got nervous, and I think she said it like twice or three times, she said, "My bowels are turning to..." She said, Feyre says, "My bowels are turning to liquid." Like, who says that? Who says my bowels are turning to liquid and I can't help it? So basically she's like, she's gonna need to go like number 3 in the bathroom. Like, what's going on here? Like, she does not describe her as any like attractive woman at all. I mean, I know she's described as being very beautiful, but the way she talks and everything is just not very attractive. I didn't feel like it was great world building in this fairyland. She could have done so much more on the magic, on it being such a magical place. And I think that was lost in the way she wrote the story, the way she described things. So I didn't really like the writing too much. So anyway, Feyre goes back, and you have it was a long drawn out story to get to this point where finally we get to know why they were treating her nice, what happened with the curse, why is there a curse upon them. We don't know that until the later part in the book, so you have to hang in there literally through the whole, you know, bland ordeal to get to understand all the confusion as to why she's being treated so nice and why he is not that upset about his friend dying, right? His friend being killed, pretty much. So Feyre goes out back to the land to see Tamlin, and everything is all a wreck. The house is a mess. She finds out from one of the fairies that work there why there's a curse there and where Tamlin is. He's being held captive by his crazy, pretty much crazy woman who couldn't accept no for an answer. So there goes another one who's saying, oh, you don't want to be with me? I'm just gonna curse the land. And then he's saying, don't come out of your room, Feyre, or else I'm gonna like jump you. You know what I mean? Regardless of whether you say no or not. So anyway, now she's holding him captive. So Feyre goes and tries to now towards the end of the story is going to try to rescue Tamlin. And because she feels so in love with him, I guess, and everything. But again, it doesn't make sense. Like, there's no love story. I just didn't see that. The story, where is the love that came in? And before he sent her home, they had this beastly relation, you know, sexual happening going on. And I thought it was like, I wasn't disgusted, but it was like, it was not romantic at all. So I don't know where the romance in this romance high fantasy is, because to me there was no romance at all. It was all lust, and it took out any of the beauty that is Beauty and the Beast. So that's the last part, and I don't want to get further into detail on this. One last thing is that the final part, I really was totally disgusted, because I don't like a lot of violence in stories and stuff. Even watching TV, I can't stomach it. And when she goes to try to save him, and she's speaking to this wicked fairy, the fairy tells her, okay, you want to save him, you either have to answer a riddle or go through these 3 type of challenges and everything. So anyway, when she's there, she gets beaten up so bad, and the description, she did very well to make you feel like, oh my god, like this woman gets beaten up to a pulp. Like she says her nose is broken. I think they broke her, I don't know if they broke something else. I was like appalled. I was like, wow, really? Like now she's getting beaten up so badly? Like the way it was described was really, I lost, you see, I can't even describe it, because it just lost me at that point. I was like, oh my god, I'm out. In any case, this is a series, so there are, I believe, 3 other books that come after this one, and I won't be reading any of them. This was the introduction to a book and a writing style that I just didn't like. I'm not interested in reading any more of her, written by her. But again, this is my opinion. I do encourage you, go out and read it if you're interested in reading this, because you might like it. There's so many people who did like this story, and if you have read it and liked it, please comment. Tell me why you liked it, what parts that really got you to love the story. And if you are like me and you didn't really like the story at all, tell me why. Tell me what parts that turned you off. I would love to to hear them. I would love to read your take on why you didn't like the story either. So anyway, guys, yes, this was my rant on why this felt totally flat for me. And yeah, I was bummed out, but I also was, you know, okay with having read it because I was interested in the beginning to read it because of the whole Beauty and the Beast thing. It doesn't compare, and even if it wasn't compared to Beauty and the Beast or inspired by Beauty and the Beast, I still would not like it. It would be just the same. And I gave it 1 star on Goodreads. I want to do another book tag for my next video, so be on the watch for that. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, and if you like this video, give me a thumbs up as well. And if you're still here and you stuck around for this this whole video or this whole rant, I do appreciate it, and I look forward to you being back with me on my next one. So on that note, guys, I'll see you on the next one.